Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Seminar International of PIN Palopo. Thank you very much for preparing yourself to join in our seminar today. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And good morning.
Morning.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Rosmiati as a moderator today. First of all, let's say thank you to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who has given us happiness and healthy, so we can attend and participate in this special event without any obstacle. Secondly, salawat and salam always be given to Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has given us the light from the darkness into the brightness. So, the series of this event are the first welcoming speech by Chairman. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, good morning.
Morning.
First out, thanks to the Almighty God, because on this morning we are still given help to be present to be here. And the Honorable Mr. Ega, this is Ega, Mayor of Palopo City, the Honorable Speaker from UK, Canada, Malaysia, and Singapore. Thank you for coming here. Okay. And Honorable for the moderator and the best people, your audience, thank you for coming here. The Prince all, I want to say thanks for the Mayor of the Palopo City, Mrs. Ega, because of permission, this is event is continued. And the second, I want to thanks for the audience, for the speakers, because you all to here you took the time for attending. This is our material. And I'm to thanks for your audience because you coming here and very much because this is I want to granted for you all this even given you knowledge and new is mentioned. Okay. And thank you for coming. This is just for what I say, and thanks for all your to given this event be doing. And I just wanna thanks because this event be doing. Okay, thank you very much. I will and I wish the God is blessing this is material for today. And thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Again, thank you very much for Chairman. And second welcoming speech by the Mayor of Palopo City and open this international seminar. Time is yours.
The Honorable Chairman of this event, the Honorable the speakers from the other country, and the Honorable of the audience and moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And good morning, everybody.
Morning.
First of all, I would like to say thank you very much to the Almighty God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has given us a good chance so that we can pretend here today. And prayers and greeting always we send to the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who brought us from the darkness into the lightness. Previously, I was grateful to the committee who tried hard to make the event success. Based on the title of the seminar today, International Conference and Research Forum, and the theme, improve the quality of the students' English to be highly competitive. As students, especially in English, we must master language, especially English, but it can be denied that we have various kinds of problems to learning. our time, let's open this event today with saying Basmala together. I hope this event running smoothly and be useful for all of us. The last I say thank you very much and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So, before we start the seminar today, we have five speakers from five countries. The first speaker is Reski from Britania Raya. The second speaker is Rosmita from Australia. And the third speaker, Musdalifa from Canada. And the fourth speaker, Vindayanti from Malaysia. And the last speaker, Merianil Jana from Singapore. So, the speaker will present their proposal. For the first speaker, time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for the moderator that have been giving me the chance to present my proposal. Okay, okay, as you see, this is my proposal that I've been show you. So the title of the proposal is developing book how to be a good guide for student of national school in So that's as we know here in Indonesia we have a lot of destinations, like beautiful destinations. As we know, Indonesia is very beautiful country. So in this proposal that I want to encourage the students' knowledge through a book that they can use for their life in the future. And this book will be content about how to be a good guide for the students in Tanah Toraja, especially in Tanah Toraja. As we know, Indonesia has a lot of islands. And Indonesia, in island is 17,000 islands in Indonesia, only in Indonesia. Could you imagine that? So the tourists from all the country come to Indonesia for holiday. And then we reach our culture. We have a lot of culture. And we have 700 even more languages. And then, as we know, in Toraja, especially in Tanah Toraja, there's a lot of change for the students to become a tour guide. Because in Toraja, we know there's so many destinations and also cultures and also nature. So in this book will be help the student to become a good guide. On it. Okay. And then the objective of the study, as you know, okay, the students could understand the material in the guidebook. Of course, the students have to understand about the guidebook, so they can guide the tourists better. And the second one is to solve problem of the students who want to be a tour guide. So in the students, there's so many problems that they have to solve because, for example, if they don't know how to be a guide and then they want to guide the tourists, so it's going to be a problem for them. And then the significance of the study, of course, there will be help learners and to develop tour guiding in Tanah Toraja. And yeah, So that's about my proposal. The important is this book will be help the student to a good future for them. And then I hope this research will be continue to our next generation. So thank you for the time and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, we move to the next speaker. Rosmita from Australia. Time is yours.
Oke, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, how do you do, participants? Okay, thank you. Okay, well, I'm Rosmita from Australia. Today, I will present about my proposal, and the title of my proposal is the implementation of problem prompting to improving speaking skill at the 11th grade of Senior High School number 2, Palopo. Okay, today we will explain about 3 parts. The first part is chapter 1 that contains introduction. The second part is chapter 2 that contains review of related literature. And the last chapter is chapter 3. Chapter 3 is contain research method. Okay, in introduction, there are 5 parts in here. The first is background, problem statement, objective of the research, significance of the research, and scope of the research. Okay, background. This is the problem that I found in Senior High School number 2, Palopo. The first problem is the students lack practice their speaking, and the teacher used a monotonous learning strategy. And problem statement is the use of problem prompting strategy effective in improving speaking skill at the 11th grade of Senior High School number 2, Palopo. And objective of the research to find out whether the implementation of problem prompting is effective in improving speaking skill at the 11th grade of Senior High School number 2, Palopo. Okay, significance of the research. There are two parts in here. The first is theoretical advantage and practical advantage. In theoretical advantage, this research supports the theory about problem prompting method, whereas the method can improve speaking skill. And the practical advantage, there are subjects in here. The first is for the teacher. It can give information to the teacher how to teach speaking skill and upgrade their student speaking skill. And the second subject is for students. It can be upgrade their students' knowledge by knowing the way in learning, especially in improving speaking skill. And the last subject is for other research. It can be reference for other research as a contributor to improving speaking skill. Okay, in scope of the research, there are 3 parts in here. The first is accuracy that contains pronunciation, vocabulary, and grammar. And fluency, and the last comprehensibility. Okay, look at that. There are 3 researchers in here, and they have the same result. Their researcher is effective in improving speaking skill. Okay, next. This is the concept of speaking. Okay, there are two definitions of speaking according to experts. The first is Rodri Jones, 1989. Speaking is a form of communication, so it is important that what you say is conveyed in the most effective way.
And according to Martin Beckett, 1997, speaking is a skill which deserves attention every bit as much as literary skills in both first and second language. So speaking is very building and maintaining social relationship and friendship. So when you speak, you share our ideas and you give information to other people. Okay, next, the elements are speaking. There are 5 elements of speaking according to Hodges Arthur and Jeremy Harper. The first is pronunciation. To make our communication by interlocutor, it is better produced to words clearly, so the listener can understand what you say. And then grammar, it is the rules of speaking, to exchange the form of words. So it is important. You must know that. And the third is vocabulary. It is important too because we cannot speaking without vocabulary. If you don't have many vocabulary, you cannot speaking, right? Yes. Okay. And influencing. It is indicates, there are exchanging process. There are process exchanging ideas between a speaker and listener. And the last, comprehension. It is the power of understand about speaking. Okay, there are 3 points of consider about speaking according to Rodriguez. The word is clarity, variety, audience, and thoughts. Okay, definition of problem prompting. According to Suyano 20 and 18, problem prompting is presented through a series of questions that explore knowledge students and guide towards the expected development. And according to Mulyasa, problem prompting is learning by teachers presents a series of questions that guide and explore, so that the thought process acquires the link student knowledge and experience with new knowledge being studied. Okay, this research I use pre-experimental method without control class, so just one class. And then population around 120 students and sample 32 students. Okay, that's all about our presentation today, and thank you.
Well, we move to the third speaker, Musdalifa from Canada. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the time that's given to me. My name is Musdalifa. I'm from Canada. Okay, today I'm gonna present about my proposal. The title of my proposal is Enhancing Students' Tenses Mastery by Paul Srivipurai and the 10th grade students at Senior High School number 2 Palembang. Okay, as we know that tenses are important part of the English that must be mastered by the learners. The function of the tenses are difference in time and situation. By understanding the tenses, the students will be able to communicate with other people and it will be understand the content of the conversation. Okay, as we know that many problems difficult faced by the learners in learning tenses, such as how to use verb in a sentence, difficult to distinguish between the use of time and difficult to use formulas. And we can see that there are another problem when the student learning English, especially learning tenses. And we can see that sometimes the student like English, like learning English, especially like to learning spaces, but they have low motivation. One reason because the class is less enjoyable, so that the student felt bored. Okay, felt bored. And another problem that we can see that sometimes the students pay less attention to the material and the explanation from their teacher, so that the students just silent in the classroom. In this problem, the researcher chose one of the method. The method is course review Quran. And what is course review Quran? Course review Quran is one of the methods that can create enjoyable and fun classroom atmosphere, because every student who can answer correctly is required to show Quran. So this is very important, because when this method used in the classroom, the student will fun, enjoy when learning English. Okay, that's all about my proposal. Thank you very much.
Well, we move to the fourth speaker. I invite Windayanti from Malaysia. Times is yours.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning, everybody. Morning. Okay, thanks for the time. My name is Windayanti. I'm from Malaysia, and then now I will present proposal about developing English folktales book for students in ESC Family Course of Palembang. Look at the chapter 1. In chapter 1, there are introduction. There are 4 points. The first is background. In the background, the lack of interest in students to read English reading, the difficulty of students understand English language reading given by the teacher, and teachers do not have special reading book to teach students. And the second is identification of problem. And in identification of problem, there are 2. Lack of interest in learning English, especially in reading, and the absence of a special students reading book that can be used to test their reading skills. And the third, the limitation of problem. In this research, the research focused on the learning process in ESC Family Course Palembang and providing English folktales book for students based on their needs. This English folk book to increase reading for students. In the fourth, formulation of problem. How to develop the English folktales book to the teaching of reading in ESC Family Course. Okay, next. Objective of the research. Based on the formulation of the problem, can be said the purpose of the research are to facilitate the students and teachers reading books in completing the reading. And then the specification of studies. Folk story book is a book that contains reading that contain elements of folklore in Indonesia. And then significance of the research. Students will be able to increase their reading. And then 2, researcher will be able to make a useful book that is appropriate for students in ESC Family Course of Palembang. And then assumption of limitation development. And there are two assumption and limitation. Okay, next definition of the key terms. There are four. The first is developing a collective folktales that match and then appropriate according to students' need. The third folktales book material, and the last that is suitable for students. And chapter 2, review of relative literature. There are research relevant. Aziza in 2013 research in her thesis entitled Development of Popular Basic Japanese Language Reading Book in the Regency. Robert stated that the habit of reading children would expand knowledge students. And then Apriola in 2015 in his research entitled Model Development Learning, Foxtrot's copywriting suggests that students who learn with folktales under teacher guidance and development effective. Next, this is the concept of reading. And then next, definition of folktales. Dananjaja in 2002 states the folklore is partly a culture that has been inherited from generation to generation traditionally and informed oral. This is in line with the opinion expressed by Jamaris that folklore is a story that lives and develops from generation to generation. And then developing and designing models. There are 6. The first, Eddie, Bort and Gail, Dick and Carrie, Ned and Gustafson, Gerald Kemp and Gerald and Ellie. This is conceptual framework. Okay, next chapter 3, the last chapter, method of research. There are 5 points. There are 4 points in this chapter in method of research. The first is development model, and use Eddie model, and the second procedure of development. The third research location, and the last test design reading. Okay, thank you for attention. Sampai jumpa warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, the last speaker, I invite Andi Aima Dayanti from Singapore. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, thank you for the time. Okay, my name is Anjar Marianti. I'm from Singapore. The title of my proposal is Improving Student Speaking Skill Through Reflexive Class Technique at the 10th grade student of Senior High School number 4, Lur. Okay, chapter 1, Introduction. Background. How to solve the problem. Reflexive class technique. Problem. There are 3 points. Number 1, the teacher makes the students passive when learning. Number 2, the absence of media given. Number 3, the students are not enthusiastic and not courage enough to involve in the speaking during process. Okay, chapter 2, review of related literature. Research. Sankhya, Lee, and Jiphanan Swanthep. Title, Integration of Flipped Classroom Model for EFL Speaking, year 2017. Research, Farina Nosakia Rasijan, Sakina Sofia Baharok, and Asianura Hanisan. Title, Building Communication Skill Through Flipped Classroom, year 2018. Okay, the difference of those previous studies is that this research will focus on improving the student speaking skill and making the student more active than the teacher and class by learning the lesson by themselves. Teaching speaking. In teaching speaking, we cannot only teach the spoken language, but also the situation should be considered. Teaching itself means transferring knowledge to patient, while speaking means to make us of words in ordinary voice. So teaching speaking is giving instruction to a patient in order to communicate. Conceptual framework. In this research, the research will conduct a process that is expected to give development to the teacher's strategy in teaching speaking that will increase the student knowledge, especially for the speaking ability. Okay, chapter 3, research method, research design. This research will be conducted at Senior High School number 4 Luke. One of the main areas of focus will be student achievement and change educators' perceive in student when using reflexive class technique. Population and sample. The population of this research will be all of the teen grade of students of Senior High School number 4 Luke. In this research, the sample is the teen grade of Senior High School number 4 Palopo, number 4 Luke. There are 31 students as sample. The research was purpose sampling. Instrument the research. There are 4 points. Number 1, observation sheet. Number 2, interview. Number 3, documentation. And 4, speaking test. Okay, procedure of collecting data. There are 4 points. Number 1, observation. Number 2, interview. Number 3, documentation. And 4, test. Okay, the last technique of the data analysis. In analyzing the data, the researcher will do some activities such as transcribing audio and video data find the talents to find out the strategies used by the English teacher. Describing why the teacher used the strategies speaking and describing the strategies applied by the teacher at the 10th grade senior student of senior high school number 4 Luwu. Okay, thank you for attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, that's all the presentation from the 5 speakers. Give applause for our speaker today. Now, we move to the question and answer, one for each speaker. For the audience who want to give question, raise your hand and don't forget to mention your name. Okay, the first question. Okay, mention your name.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thanks for the time. I'm Rikawati. I wanna give a question to Rizky from Britania Raya. So my question is, what is the problem when students start a guide? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Rikawati. The question from Rikawati is, what is the problem when students start guide? Okay, for Rizky, time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for the question for Rika. So the question is, what is the problem when the students start to guide? There's so many problems when the students start to guide. So in this, I'm gonna mention only 3 or 4. So the first one is they don't know how to guide. That's the problem, the first problem. And the second one is they lack of knowledge about the destination in Tanah Toraja. And then the third one is when they want to start guide, they don't know where exactly they want to go. For example, because there's so many destinations in Tanah Toraja. And then the last one is the book is not provided to the students, especially in Tanah Toraja, because there's so many books from outside Toraja. For example, like Lonely Planet, that's from London or UK. So that's the problem that we have to solve together. So thank you very much for the question. So Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, I'll push. Okay, thank you very much for nice answer from Rizky. Okay, move to the next question. Okay, the late fade.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And thanks for the time. Well, my name is Sarki Hardendri. I will give the question for Rosmita from Australia. My question is, what is the reason you choose probing property to improving speaking skills? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Raki. The question is, what is the reason you choose probing property to improve speaking skills? Okay, from Rosmita, I give time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Think yeah, it's a good question. Thank you, Rafi. Okay, why I choose problem prompting strategy to improve speaking skill? Yeah, why? Because problem prompting has many advantages. The first is probing prompting work to build up dialogue. It sounds there's interaction between a teacher and students with other students. It means that there are discussion in this class because in probing prompting, the teacher give some question to students, and then the second advantage is using probing prompting as a strategy to improving speaking skill because probing prompting can increase the participants in the classroom and can help the students to think critically. And then the third advantage, because in this question of probing prompting, the different answer from the students can make a discussion to enrich their knowledge to so that the students get a new fact or get a situation. And then the last, when you use probing prompting, you can know the prior of knowledge. So the teacher can guide the student to think actively. Okay, that's all about our answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the nice answer. Okay, we move to the next question. Okay, again the black veil types.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for the time who given to me. Let me introduce myself. My name is Jubeda, and now I will give a question for the Ms. Daliwa. And my question is, why are you using the course review Hooray method in teaching in tense? Teaching tense. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jubeda. The answer, the question from Jubeda is, why are you using the Hooray Review course method in teaching tense? I give you time to answer Jubeda's question. Time is yours.
Okay, well, thank you for the time from Miss Jubeda. And okay, I'm gonna answer your question. Why I choose this method? Because as we know that many advantages from this method, and with this method can make us enjoy, fun, and interested in the classroom. And as we know that sometimes the student want to study tenses, but they have low motivation. Yeah, low motivation. And this method can make their motivation to study. Okay, because it is very fun in the classroom. And as we know that this method can test students' understanding from their explanation from their teacher. And as we know that this method part of the cooperative learning, so that it can help the student answer their material through discussion, group discussion. Okay, thank you.
Okay, nice explanation from Sarifa. Okay, we move to the next question. Who wants to? Okay, you.
Thanks for the time given to me. My name is Irwan Ramli. Okay, I want to give a question to Widayanti from Malaysia. So my question is, when in Easy Family course, the teachers do not have special reading book. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. The question is, why is ESE family course the teacher do not have special reading a book? Okay, for Widayanti, I give you the sign.
thank you for your question. Your question, why in ES Family course the teacher do not have special reading a book, right? Okay, my answer is a simple. Why? Because the special for elementary students, teachers only focus on speaking and writing. Thank you.
Okay, good answer from Yudayanti. Next, we move to the last question. Who wants to give? Okay, the blade fail again. Use the glasses.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good morning.
Morning.
My name is Rabia, and I will give a question for Andi Arma from Australia. From Singapore. And my question is the technique of replacing places suitable to students in senior high school number 4 Luwu.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. The question is the technique of reversing classes subtitle of student in SMA number 4 Luwu. Okay, from Andi Ahmadayanti, I give you the time to answer the question.
Okay, thank you for the time and for the question from Rabia is the technique of replacing classes suitable to students in senior high school number 4. Okay. Because this research will focus on improving the student speaking skill and making the student more active than the teachers at class by reading the lesson by themselves. Okay, thank you very much for that.
Okay, well, this is the end of Seminar International today. Thank you for the fifth speaker from another countries and for all participants to come here to join this seminar. I hope all of you enjoy and could understand about all of the material today. Thank you very much for your nice attention and good afternoon. Good
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And good afternoon, everybody. First of all, let's rise our biggest grateful to Almighty God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has been given us a good health and long life. Secondly, my salawat and salam always be given to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay, first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My full name is Nurul Aulia Musalim as a moderator for today. And today, the speaker, first speaker, her name is Nur Wahyuni Syafitrisa, and time is yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And good afternoon. Okay, first of all, I would like to say thank you very much for the time that has been given to me to explain about my proposal. And the theme of my proposal is developing English textbook for students in AC Family course of Palopo. Okay, the first, I would like to explain about my background. Teaching children folk stories and fairy tales offers a number of practical benefits, including sharing cultural tradition between generations and exploring important life lessons. Why I choose this theme for my proposal? Because when I do research in AC Family course, I see the ability students in AC Family course in Palopo, especially in reading, is still low because in the course of courses, the lack of students' interest to reading English. And the second is difficulty of students understand English language reading given by the teacher. The third is teachers do not have a special reading book to teach students. Okay, the next is identification of problem. There are several problems. The first is lack of interest in learning English, especially in reading. The second is the absence of a special students reading book that can be used to test their reading skills. Okay, the next is the limitation of problem. In this research, the researcher focuses on the learning process in AC Family Course Palopo and providing English full text book for students based on their needs. This English full text book to increase reading for students. Okay, the next is formulation of problem. How to develop English full text book to teaching of reading in AC Family Course. The next is objective of the research. Based on the formulation of the problem can be stated by purpose of the research are to facilitate the students and the teachers and completing the reading. The next is the specification of study. Folk story book is a book that contains readings that contain elements of folklore in Indonesia. The next is significance of the research. The first is for students. Students will be able to increase their reading. The second is for researcher. Researcher will be able to make useful book that is appropriate for students in AC Family Course. And the last is assumptions of limitation development. The first is assumption and the second is limitation. Okay, the next is chapter 2, review of related literature. Okay, there are several theory. We can see this. Okay, the next is chapter 3. Okay, for development model, I use AD model, and the next for procedure of development, the first is curriculum and material analysis. The second is curriculum and material analysis of user needs. Okay, the last is analysis of program content. Okay, the next is number 3, research location. I check in AC Family Course of Palopo. The last is test the science reading. Okay, there are trial subject and trial object. Okay, I think that's all about my proposal. Thank you very much for your full attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, there was the performance from the first speaker. Okay, give her applause. Next, we move to the next speaker. Her name is Nurdiani. Time is yours.
Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Nurdiani. Today, I will explain about my proposal. And the title is Teaching Vocabulary by Using Paper-Relay Learning Games in 7th grade in Integrated Islamic Junior High School, Palopo. Okay, first, in chapter 1, introduction. In background, the student they still have a low ability in language learning, especially in vocabulary. And my strategies in preparing teaching material with game, so that students are easy to understand and interested to learning in the classroom. Okay, the second, problem identification. The first, students are less interested because the material is boring. The second, students like vocabulary because they are lazy to memorize. And the third, environment is an obstacle because students live together in a dormitory, so that they influence each. The the restriction of the problem, how to use the games, a method that is in improving students' vocabulary. Okay, next. Problem statement. Properly running games technique effective to teaching vocabulary in 7th grade in integrated Islamic Junior High School Palopo. Purpose of the research. The study aims to make effective vocabulary teaching and learning for students in 7th grade in integrated Islamic Junior High School through really running proper games by conducting and classroom action research card. And then the significance of the research. The first, theoretically, to be able to add and develop students' knowledge, insight on vocabulary. And the second, this research will be useful for students in the learning process with English teaching as facilitator of learning. Okay, this is chapter 2, theoretical basis. This is a review study of a definition of vocabulary and theory of teaching vocabulary. And this is relevant research. Okay, framework, teaching vocabulary, the application of game, and then improvement of students' vocabulary. Okay, chapter 3, research methods. The methods of research as the result of the problem pre-observation of the constraints that are obtainable leads to this research. Okay, subject of research. This research used 20 samples of 7th grade students in integrated Islamic Junior High School Palopo. Okay, I think that's all about my proposal. Thank you very much for your time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, I think that was the presentation of about Ani's proposal. Okay, thank you very much for your time. I will call the next speaker. The next speaker will deliver their.
Okay, that was performance from Nurdiani. Give applause for her. And the next speaker is Diki Reza Auliatur Ramadan. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the time. Today I will explain about my proposal, and the title is The Implementation of Reading While Listening Technique in Teaching Listening Comprehension. In background of study, lack of understanding listening in students' English learning due to lack of technique to support listening learning. Next is research question. Effect of implementation of reading while listening technique on students' achievement in listening comprehension. Next, the aim of study. This research aim is to find out whether reading while listening techniques give significant effects to raise student achievement in listening comprehension. Next is terminology. It is important to define several keywords of the thesis in order to prevent misunderstanding. The keywords are, the first is listening and the second is reading while listening. This is chapter 2, literature review. In chapter 3, the research object is Campus IAIN Palopo, Street Agatis, Balande, in South Sulawesi. Research variable, dependent variable in this research was skill from student be developed. Next is research design. The first is pre-test, the second is treatment, and the third is post-test. And next, population and sample. The researcher took one class as a sample. The class is big B in semester 2, which consists of 5 boys and 38 girls. Instrument of the research, the first is test and the second is interview. Data collection procedures, the first is test, next is experimental teaching, and the last is post research. Okay, technique of data analysis. In technique of data analysis, the first is scoring for pre-test and post-test. Next is classifying the student score, and the last is calculating the rate percentage of the student score. Okay, thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, that was performance by Kiki Reza Awaliatur Ramadan, and the next speaker is Nurul Aulia Musalim. Time is yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for the time. Okay, I would like to present about my proposal. The title of my proposal is the implementation of SPINE method to improve student speaking skill at the second semester of English department at IAIN Palopo. Okay, in chapter 1 there are introduction. There are several kinds of in chapter 1. The first is background. According to what I do in previous observation on May 6, 2019 in IAIN Palopo, I do some interview of the student. There are several weaknesses in learning English, namely environmental factor, lack of confidence, and lack of vocabulary they had. Okay, the next is, as you can see in this slide, identification problem. There are many things that are there are many things are lacking in building the habit of speaking English. For the limitation of problem, achievement in speaking, especially confident and dare to express their ideas without using SPINE method. For the formulation of the problem, how is student speaking skill before and after using SPINE method. And the next is purpose of the study. As we know, the student speaking skill before and after being taught using SPINE method. Okay, in this identification problem, in this research, may be used teacher and the next student and other researchers. Okay, in this chapter 2, there are review of related literature. Okay, the first is chapter 2, review of related literature. There are two researchers. The first is Ratna Rismayanti and Irene Isnaini. And then for theories related to ideas, the first is speaking. According to Polar state that speaking is one of the most difficult for students to master. And then for the method, according to Nalium method is a method used to achieve learning goals. For that I use in this research, I use SPY method to improve student speaking. Student speaking skill is according to Ratna Rismayanti, SPY method is an innovative teaching students strategy. This method also help them learn new vocabularies and pronunciation. It can be help the teacher improve the student speaking, student interest in English subject, and then how to teach SPY method. According to Ratna Rismayanti, there are students will be grouped as many as 3 until 5 students, and then each person the team is given a different material section. The next member of different teams who have studied the same subsection meet in new groups, accept their group to discuss their sub-chapter. And then after the discussion, as a team of expert,
was performance from Nurul Aulia Musalim, and the next speaker is Andi S. Ahmad Nur. Time is yours.
Oke, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you for the time, and I will explain about my proposal, and the title is Developing Vocabulary Handbook, Computer and Network Engineering CAE for Students of Vocational High School Palopo. Okay, in chapter 1, Introduction, there are background. Okay, definition of vocabulary from the Merriam-Webster Science 82A Online Dictionary, there are 3 points. Okay. Next, B, identification of the problem. Based on the observation, there is 1 point of the research, namely lack of vocabulary in students. English learning due to lack of equipment to support vocabulary learning. Okay, C, the limitation of the problem. In this research, the research focused on problem of vocabulary process first grade students of Vocational High School to Palopo. D, formulation of the problem. In this research, the formulation of the problem is how to design an appropriate vocabulary list into vocabulary handbooks for first grade students of Vocational High School to Palopo, majoring in Computer and Network Engineering Department. Okay, next slide. E, objective of the study. The objective in this study were 2 points. 1, to identify the students' target and needs of students in learning vocabulary skill at the first class, Computer and Network Engineering Department. 2, to design an appropriate vocabulary handbook that's suitable for the student based on needs and learning purpose of vocabulary. Next, the specification of the study. The vocabulary list that developed in this study was vocabulary handbook for first grade student of Vocational High School to Palopo, majoring in Computer and Network Engineering Department. Next, the significance of the study. There are 3 points. 1, students will be able to have vocabulary handbook that can help them to increase their vocabulary skill. 2, teacher is able to manage and arrange an appropriate class that is suitable for all students. Next, 3, researcher will be able to make a useful vocabulary handbook that is appropriate for a first grade students of Vocational High School to Palopo that can be a reference for the next researcher in designing the next program. Okay. Next slide, the assumption and the limitation of the study. Okay, there are 2 points. 1, assumption.
In assumption, the product that is produced in this research is able to use for first grade students of vocational high school Tupalopo to improve their skill by vocabulary handbook. 2. Limitation. The product that is produced in this research can only be used for first grade students of vocational high school Tupalopo and cannot be used for other schools. Okay, next, the definition of the key terms. There are 3 points. 1. Developing. The meaning of the research here is to create a vocabulary handbook for first grade students of vocational high school Tupalopo, majoring in computer and network engineering department. 2. Design. A model of the vocabulary handbook based on the students' need analysis. 3. Vocabulary handbook, appropriate vocabulary list for first grade students of vocational high school Tupalopo, majoring in computer and network engineering department. Okay, next, chapter 2, review of related literature. A. Reviews of related research finding. There are two points. 1. Mulyana in next, Seymour Laraba. Okay, B. Some pertinent ideas. There are 5 points. 1. Vocabulary. 2. How to learn vocabulary. Learn vocabulary. 3. The importance of vocabulary learning. 4. Definition of handbook. And the last, vocabulary handbook. Okay, C. Development model. Okay, there are 5 development model. 1. AD model, Jig and Carey model, Barb and Gull model, Assure model, and Keep model. Okay, in conceptual framework, there are 7. 1. Research target, observation and interview, need analysis, make a plan, structure, and make a product, and final product, and the last try out. Okay, in chapter 3, method of the research. Model of development. I use AD model because the reason why the researcher choose this model of development because it is quite simple than other model. AD design model only have 5 steps. 1. Analysis, 2. Design, 3. Development, and 4. Implementation, and 5. Evaluation. Okay, this is a procedure of development. Below is the schema of AD model used to develop the vocabulary handbook. Okay, this is 5 steps of AD model. Okay, in research location, this research will be conducted at first grade majority in computer and network engineering vocational high school Tupalopo, and the sign of the material tryout. There are 4 points. The sign of tryout, subject of tryout, and okay. This is my proposal. Thank you for the time, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, that was performance from Andi S. Ahmadur, and the last speaker is Rati Hardianti. Time is yours. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you for this time that has given to me, and today I would like to present my proposal. The title is Developing Vocabulary Handbooks for Students at First Grade of Sataf or One Roof Junior High School, number 2, Baibunta.
So the first, chapter 1, is introduction. There are several parts. You can see the slide. First, background of the study. Second, identification of the problem. Third, the limitation of the problem. Fourth, formulation of the problem. 5, objective of the study. 6, the specification of the study. Next, the signification of the study. Next, the assumption and the limitation of the study, and the last, definition of the key terms. Okay, first, background. And the important part is in the background. Based on the interview that had been conducted during the observation at first grade of Sataf Junior High School number 2, Baibunta. On Tuesday, May 22nd, 2019, I got some problems. They are: first, lack of student motivation in learning English, because the grade book used by students do not include the meaning of English. And second, the level of student understanding in learning English is still lacking, especially in vocabulary. One of the way to solve problem above is looking for the appropriate is going to improve vocabulary and student as the way. So that the reason why I raise the title. Next, chapter 2 is literature review. They have 5 parts. First, previous research findings. Second, vocabulary. Third, handbook. Next, models in developing, and the last, conceptual framework. In previous research findings, they have 2 parts. You can see two parts. First, one with the title is using handbook of American accent training at the first semester. English student at Stein Palopo in 2014. And the second is Yusri Wahyuningsi. With the title is student reading comprehension at junior high school number 5 Palopo in 2017. And their research is successful. Next, chapter 3 is research method. They 4 parts. First, development. Second, produce of development. Third, research location, and the last, design of material tryout. The researcher use 80 models. The researcher use research and development, or R&D methodology. In development, the researcher use 80 models, and there are 5 steps. First, analyze. Second, design. Third, develop. Fourth, implement, and the last, evaluate. Next, research location. Research location. This research was conduct at first grade Sataf. At first grade Sataf or One Roof Junior High School number 2 Baibunta. And the last, design of material tryout. They many have
there are many parts. First, design of tryout. Second, subject of tryout. Third, technique and data collecting, and the last, data analysis technique. I think that's all about my proposal. Thank you very much for your attention, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, that was performance from our speakers today. Thank you very much for your full attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning everybody. First of all, let's rise our biggest grateful to Almighty God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has been given us a good health and long lives, so that we can attend to Him. Salawat and salam always be given to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who bring us from the darkness into the brightness. Okay, well, today I am Nur Fadila. I will present about my proposal, which is entitled Developing English Model Material for Nusantara English Course. Okay, well, in my proposal there are 3 chapters. Based on the prior observation at Nusantara English Course Palopo on April, I discovered various problems experienced by the student. The student is difficulty to understanding the learning because lack of vocabulary. The student and the teacher don't have guidebook, worksheet, and so there is no reference in learning. Referring to the problem, I give one solution. My solution is the module. Why I choosing the module? Because with the module, the students can learning independently. And for the teacher, with the module, the teacher can make the learning and the teaching process more structured. So, for me, the module is one solution to be guidance for the student and teacher. So that I give the solution. The module is one solution for this problem. Okay, I think that's all for my presentation today. Thank you very much for your attention and participation, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And good morning.
Morning.
Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Della Cynthia. Well, I would like to explain about my proposal, and title is the implementation of physical learning models to improve students' teaching skill at the 10th grade of Vocational High School 1 Utara. Okay, later on, based
second is Bana, 2018. And the third is Sugito. And the last is Rika and Weber, 1985. Partly is types of vocabulary. There are 4 theory. The first is Jeremy Hammer, 1991. 154. Similarly, and the second is similarly like that, 1982. And the third is China, 1916. 70. And the last is Gu, 1959. Next is concept of vocabulary. There are three theory. The first is Harvey, 1974, and the second is Martin Asar, dan yang terakhir Harvey. This is for media. In media, there are third theory and diffusion. There are third theory. This is a picture dictionary. Definition picture dictionary. There are 4 theory. And the step in developing picture dictionary. The first is picture dictionary design. And the second is choosing word words. And the third is data feeding and servicing. And fourth is data processing. And the last is giving meanings. This is thinking of framework. The first is research target. Next, observation and interview. After that, make analysis or visionary. After that, make a plan. Researching product and fitting. And final product. After that, try out. Next, research. The last is student perception. This is chapter 3, research method. In research method, I use AD model. The first is analysis, design, develop, implement, and the last is evaluation. Part B, design product layout. Research and development. Part C is subject of layout. That is class and grade student of technical library design majority of SNKS Satu. And technique instrument and data collecting. The first is observation, and the second interview. After that, questionnaire, and then documentation. Part B is data analysis technique. In data analysis technique, I use descriptive statistical analysis. That's all our material, and thank you for your nice attention and participation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this seminar proposal of Yayan Palgo. Thank you very much for preparing yourself to join your seminar today. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Hairunisa Pujiati, and I will be serving as your moderator today. First of all, let's say thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who has given us happiness and health, so we can gather and participate
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Okay,
wabarakatuh.
I will present my proposal is titled the use of mini daily dictionary in memorizing strategy to improve student vocabulary mastery at senior high school and number 4 dulu. Next, please look the chapter 1. Chapter 1 have introduction and here have 5 points. The first point is background. This background is vocabulary is a set of words that are owned by someone or another entity or a part of a particular language. A person vocabulary is defined as the set of words that are understood by the person or the words that are likely to be used by the person to compile a new sentence. The second point is identification of the problems. In here have 5 points. The first point is student less mastery in vocabulary mastery. And next, students have difficulty speaking, reading, and speaking, and of learning English. And the second, English learning media students are less interested in learning English for students. And third point is teachers are less creative in presenting English learning. And last, students are not enthusiastic about learning English, especially during the learning the day. Next, problem statement. And here, how is the student respond to word used many daily dictionary in memorizing strategy at senior high school number 4. Next, objective of the research. And here, the field of student response to memorization strategies use a mini daily dictionary. And next, the benefits of the research. In here, have a point with the teacher. In here, give their information and knowledge in teaching and learning process in classroom about memorizing strategy to improve student mastery of vocabulary. And next, first student. In here, research will be the best input that can help student vocabulary mastery. And the last scope of the research. The scope of this study is limited to increasing vocabulary mastery in memorization strategy of vocabulary by using many daily dictionaries for 10th grade at senior high school number 4. Next, please look the chapter 2, review of related literature. In here have 5 points. The first review study. In here definition about vocabulary. Vocabulary is vocabulary. In this research, she wants to find out the effectiveness of encyclical in teaching vocabulary. And next, concept vocabulary have 3 points. The first, definition of vocabulary and teaching vocabulary and think of vocabulary. And 3 point, strategy. And strategy have 2 points, definition of strategy and about strategy in memorizing. And next, media have 2 points, definition, mini daily dictionary, and the benefits of using media mini daily dictionary. And the last, conceptual framework. In here, ability to implement classroom action, research action. Research is one of the skills that must be honored by a professional teacher. Next, the chapter 3. Please look the research middle. was conduction at Senior High School number 4, location at Street Ratu, Kecamatan Pondok Pro, Provinsi Sulawesi Selatan. And next, subject of the research. And next research design have 4 points. The first, planning phase, acting phase, observing phase, and reflection phase. And next, setting and the subject of the study. In here, this research is conducted using classroom action research, whereas in taking action, the purpose of this study was to study the interest, and student work in memorizing strategies by using a mini diary dictionary at Senior High School number 4 Luwu. And next, procedure of research. In here, have 4 points. The first, planning, action, during the action, observation, and reflection. Next, instrument of the research. In here, have 4 points. The first point, the instrument use of the research, questionnaire, vocabulary test, and observation. Next, data analysis technique. In here, data analysis was carried out in a study to draw conclusion for all data obtained. And next, in here have rules, amount of raw score, average, the number of score, or value of existing students. And next, have advanced score and qualification. In here, have point is very good, badly, and poor and pilot. Okay, thank you for the time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay. That was presentation by Miss Astuti and Junaidi. And now we move to the invite. The next speaker is Miss Yasmin Samsu.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
Thanks for the moderator. Today I would like to explain about my proposal. With the title is Analyzing Different Syntax in English and Business Language of English Study Program in IAIN Palopo. The first I would like to explain about chapter 1 is called Introduction. The first background. In this background, I found one of problem in English study program in IAIN Palopo. It's about studying having difficulty and acting and distinguishing syntax in English and business language. And the second is about problem statement. It's about what are the different syntax in English and business language. And the third is about objective of the research. In this objective of the research, to find out the different syntax in English and business language. The next is about scope of the research. In this research, focuses on descriptive method to find out different syntax in English and business language. And then the purpose of the research, to know the different syntax in English and business language. And then the last, significance of the research. The first, theoretically, the results of the study provide understanding and knowledge in distinguishing syntax in English and business language. And the second is about practically, as input English study program to know syntax in English and business language. And then chapter 2 is about review and related study. The first is about reviews of related study. The same research I found that too. The first, Riva Suci Wulandari, analysis of English and received sentence structure Indonesia language through constructive repetition. SDK Ponorogo, 2017.
University of Tadulako, Palu 2015. Its research used descriptive qualitative method. And then definition of syntax. From in linguistics, syntax refers to the rules that govern the ways in which words combine to form phrase, clauses, and sentences. Syntax is grammatical structure of sentences, the format in which words and phrase arrange to create sentences is called syntax. And then the third is about like English. In Wikipedia, English is a West Germanic language, was first spoken in early medieval England and eventually become a global lingua franca. And then English is the largest language by the number of speakers, and the third most representative language after Standard Chinese and Spanish. And then the last, from review and related study, is about Bugis language. In Wikipedia, Bugis language or Bugis, we call Bahasa Ugi, elsewhere also Bahasa Bugis, Bugi, and is a language spoken by about 5 million people, mainly in the southern of Sulawesi, Indonesia. The word Bugisness derives from the word Bugis in Malay. In Bugisness, it is called Bahasa Ugi, while the Bugis people are called Ugi. And then chapter 3 is about method of the research. The first is about research method. In this research, use descriptive qualitative method. It aims to know the different syntax in English and Bugisness language, especially at any study program in IAIN Colombo. And then in this research, population example. Population in this research is from students at English study program in IAIN Colombo, where the students can speak and understand Bugisness language. And then the sample, I took 25 students who can speak and understand Bugisness language. And then method of the research, the first instrument of the research, I use observation, and then oral test and tape recorder. And then procedure of collecting data, I use some techniques such as observation, giving oral test, and do documentation using tape recorder, where observations are made to get a real picture of an event to answer the question. And then I use oral test to find out how the respondents wrote several sentences or Bugisness language and English. And then the last I use tape recorder, where respondents spoke several sentences in Bugisness and English. And then technique of data analysis, I use descriptive analysis, analyze the data from observation, oral test, and do documentation with the tape recorder to find out the different syntax in English and Bugisness language at English study program FBA in Colombo. Okay, that's all about my proposal. Thanks for the time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, finally we come to the end part of this seminar, and I would like to say thank you again for presentation today. Thank you very much for your attention, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this seminar proposal of IAIN Colombo. Thank you very much for preparing yourself to join our seminar today. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. Let me introduce myself. My name is Luciana. I will be serving as your moderator today. First of all, let's say thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who has given us happiness and healthy, so we can attend and participate in this special event without any obstacle. Secondly, blessing and greeting always we devote to the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who had brought us to the path of life from the death in this life. So Before we start the seminar presentation today, I will introduce sample presenters today. The first of speaker, Yusti Anita, and the next speaker, Mira Idrus. So now I would like to invite Mrs. Yusti Anita. That is your words presentation.
Well, thank you so much for the time that has been given to me. And now allow me to present my proposal, the title of the use of picture strip story to improve student speaking skill in SMR Negeri 4 Palopo. In this chapter, why I choose that title because some students think that activity speaking is boring because they only listen or speak with the teacher instruction and they must follow the other teacher. Based on the above, the research proposed the appropriate media to teach speaking. Media can improve their skill, especially speaking. Picture strip story considered as suitable media to improve the student's speaking skill. Well, in this problem formulation, based on the background of research about the other problem, can be formulated a small implementation of the picture strip story to improve student speaking skill in SMA Negeri 4 Palopo. The objective of the study, do you know the implementation? The picture strip story can improve the student speaking skill in SMA Negeri 4 Palopo. And the research limitation, in the research, it is impossible for the researcher to handle a lot of the problems. Therefore, the researcher limits the problem on the objective and subjective of this research based on the title, The Use of Picture Strip Story to Improve Student Speaking Skill in SMA Negeri 4 Palopo. Next, the researcher benefits for the students. Hopefully, the technique of the research can improve the student speaking skill. And for the teacher, hopefully will be beneficial in the area of teaching speaking. And last, for the institution, the research is hoped to be used as consideration, especially for teaching skill. Next, in this chapter 2, review and analyze literature. The formula said that speaking is fundamentally an instrument edge. Speakers talk in order to have some affection their listener. It is the result of teaching and learning process. And according to Sargan, definite that speaking is a language skill. A language skill that is developed in child life, which is produced by listener skill and that carrier speaking skill is learned. And the principle for designing speaking skill. There are 5. The first, use technique that cover the spectrum of learner needs from language. Best focus on accessory to message. Best focus in interaction, meaning, and fluency. And the second, proficiency motivating technique. The third, encourage the use of technique language in meaningful context. And the fourth,
Give students opportunity to engage oral communication. And the last, encourage the development of speaking strategies. Okay, in this development of speaking skill, there are four. For the first, pronunciation, the second, vocabulary, and the third, grammar, and the last, fluency. Okay, next, types teaching of speaking tests. There are four. For the first, reading bold. For the second, conversational exchange. And the third, role play, and the last, group or prayer activities. Okay, maybe that's all for today. Thank you so much for your full attention, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, that was presentation Sri Anita. Thank you. Okay, the next speaker, Mira Idrus, time is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end part of this seminar, and I would like to say thank you again for presentation today, and thank you for the attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks for the time that has given to me. Okay, before I explain about my proposal, let me introduce myself first. My name is Sehani, the 7th semester. I'm from the class B. Okay, the title my proposal is improving students' English vocabulary by using memory story game at the junior high school number 1 Lampung. Okay, in this chapter 1, there are 6. The first is background, but I would like to tell you focus to the background. There are many skills if we want to know about English. The first is writing, listening, speaking, and reading. But today I would like to focus to tell you about vocabulary. The same with my title, my proposal, improving students' vocabulary. Just focus to tell about vocabulary. And then we know vocabulary is very important. If you want to know English, you must have many vocabulary if you want to know English. And then in this vocabulary class, the student will be a good ability in English vocabulary because it can support all subjects in English. Student must have many vocabulary that can help to know the meaning, what to learn about English. And then in this class, it success when the student understand what the teacher teach and can give feedback between teacher and the students. And then based on my observation, on 13 May 2019 at Junior High School number 1 Lampung, I found many problems in this class. There are many problems. The first is the problem. There are many students can't understand what the teacher teach for the student, and the student just silent and low response if the teacher asks about the lesson, especially for English lesson in this class. And then many students think English is very difficult, and I found that from my observation, There are many less technique or media to teaching vocabulary. But the point of the proposed is to improve students, especially for vocabulary. And we can see that the chapter 2, the researcher, title of the research, subject of the research, and result. The first is from Endang Fitria. The title of the research, improving students' vocabulary mastery by using hidden items, games through hidden item makers. Subjects, Junior High School number 1, Wonosari, Klaten. And then the result can improve the student abilities in mastering vocabulary. And the second is Chris T. Panagiatako. The title is Playing with Words, Effect of an Anadrome Solving Game Like Application. So the subject is primary education student. And the result is makes it easy for teacher to teach vocabulary for the students. And move to the last researcher, Evan Effendi. The use game to improve vocabulary mastery of the 7th grade junior high school number 5 Malang. And the subject is junior high school number 5 Malang, and result can improve student vocabulary. But from this chapter 2 focus to improve vocabulary. And the next is from the problem. I offer to teach students with using game, especially named game is memory story game. And the purpose to make different lessons. For example, to make student fun, the student not feel bored, and make high motivation to students. Make high motivation to study English for students. And the teacher gives simple, short sentence that will be written on the whiteboard, and the teacher will read and follow the student at this three times repetition, and after that the sentence one by one to arise. And so it aims to train students to recall words that have been turned into full sentence at whiteboard. And the main goal from this proposal is to train student concentration, is remember missing word, and forming into sentence, be understand and memorize. So I think that's all from my explanation about my proposal. Thanks for the time as given to me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the time has given to me. Before I explain my proposal, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Hadia Sufri, and the title of my proposal is Developing English Reading Worksheet for the 7th grade at Junior High School number 10 Palupo. Okay. In chapter 1, in here have 6 parts, and I'll focus in the background. In junior high school level, English is a subject that must be known. English teaching in junior high school focuses on developing communicative competence. In fact, after observation in my 13, 20, and 19 at junior high school number 10 Palupo, the English material that students received was difficult to understand and lack of test question. Whereas what is needed by students in the teaching process is a material that is easy to understand and practice test question. Based on the problems then the facts above focus on development English language learning material of class 7 grade in semester 1. The researcher will create student worksheet. This will focus on content that is easy to understand and dominant test question. And chapter 2, their chapter 2 have researcher, title of the research, subject of the research, and results. Research 1, Nurul Halimah, the title, Developing Reading Worksheet for the 8th grade students of Madrasah Sanawiyah Raudatul Jannah Palangka. And the subject, the grade students of Madrasah Sanawiyah Raudatul Jannah Palangka Raya, and that's results worksheet with the kinds of the question and easy to answer for students. Second, Siti Munira, developing students critical reading through article as media and the 11-year students of senior high school number 1 by Bunta, and subject students of senior high school number 1 by Bunta and the result. The learning process become more interesting and they are more interesting in the reading. And the last, Yuni Ahmed, the title, Develop English Reading Material for grade 11 students of Automotive Engineering Study Program at SMK number 5, Medan. The subject, the grade 11 students of Automotive Engineering Study Program at SMK number 5, Medan. And the result, students more easily understand English according to the department. Definition of reading. Reading is the process of constructing meaning through the dynamic interaction among 1. The reader accesses knowledge. 2. The information studied by the text being read and the context of the reading situation. Reading is a process undertaken to reduce uncertainty about meaning a text. Reading the process results from a negotiation of meaning between the text and its reader. Kind of reading, extensive reading, reading aloud, silent reading, and the last reading speed. Okay, now definition of worksheet. Worksheet is sheet containing problems and exercises about the materials, and worksheet is best problems given to interest, understanding, and cognitive students in Indonesian language. Chapter 3. In Chapter 3 have 6 parts. One part type of study, data collection instrument, data analysis techniques, data collection techniques, research subject, and research procedure. Okay, that's my proposal. Thank you very much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the seminar proposal of EIN Palopo. Thank you very much for preparing yourself to join us our seminar today. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Nuraini, and I will be serving as your moderator today. First of all, let's say thank you to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who given us happiness and health, so we can take and participate in the special event without any obstacles. And secondly, blessing and grace always to Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We had brought us the path of light from the darkness in this life. So, before we start the seminar and presentate today, I will introduce some of our presenters today. The first speaker, Ariska. And the second speaker, Hasra. And the third speaker, Rabia. And the last speaker, Putri Ananya. So, now, I would like to invite Ariska to present his proposal. Time is short.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for moderator. My name is Ariska. Okay, my title is Increasing Students' Speaking Skill by Using Running Games at the 7th grade Junior High School number 5 Palopo. Chapter 1, Introduction. Background. The student assuming the public speaking is very frightening thing. Student need motivated to study. Problem statement. Does the use of running games improve the student's speaking skill of 7th grade Junior High School number 5 Palopo? Objective of the research. The purpose of this study was to find out whether or not the use of running games improve the student's speaking skill. Number 5 Palopo. Significance of the research. Improving speaking skill in class to facilitate students in expressing fluently. Scope of the research. The scope of this study student will be more focused on the use of long sentences to improve the way of speaking of 7th grade Junior High School number 5 Palopo. Chapter 2. Review of related literature. Speaking. The speaking is language skill that develops in a child life, which is only present the listening skill and at that times in the ability to speak or speak. Problem speaking. Problem speaking is not as easy thing. This is an interaction between someone and another person. The aims of speaking. Speaking is an important tool to communicate or to deliver mind things about what the speaker will be said with their society. Element of speaking. There are two. The first is language features and method social processing. Chapter 3. Method of research. The first is method, research method. Times and location of the research. Subjective of the research. Junior High School number 5 Palopo, class 7, 25 students. Technique of collecting data. There are 3 points. The first is test, the second observation, and the last interview. Technique of data analysis. Accuracy, fluency, comparability, and determining the mean score. Okay, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
That was presentation by Ariska. Thank you. Now, we move the next, invite the speaker is Hasra. Time is short.
Okay, thank you for moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Hasra. My title improving students speaking third class teknik SMK Negeri 1 dulu. Okay, chapter 1, introduction. Background. Speaking is a skill that is mastered by students in addition on other skills. Speaking skills serve to express one thinking idea. Speaking is the art of speaking. Language it to interact and community and communicate with someone. This is very difficult to master. B. Statement of problems. Can using flashcard game improve the speaking skill of the grade SMK Negeri 1 students? Okay. Research objective. Based on the formulation of the problem above, the purpose of this study was to find out whether the activities carried out could improve speaking skill in the 7th grade. A student of SMK 1 flexible. Next, D is signification of research. Is the hope this research can be useful for students of English in improving speaking skill in class 2. Facilitate student in answering frequently. Student can also use the research as the best-selling and the not boring learning tool. And in future studies can use this reference. Next, scope of research. The scope of this study, student will focus more on the use of long sentence to improve the way students speak. In the 10th grade 1 flexible, the research also focus on using games to find out the speaking ability of the remaining 7th grade SMK flexible. Chapter 2. Review of relative literature. A previous study. Pro in Islamia state that speaking is productive to observe directly and empirically. The observations are always called by accuracy and fluency. Meanwhile, he also stated that of creative construction product from linguistic spring, the speaker made a choice of lection, literature, and discourses. The next, speaking. 1. The definition of speaking. 2. Speaking is productive skill. 3. Senses speaking. 5. Technique of teaching speaking. The next, understanding speaking skill. The next, notion of classical. 6. Theoretical framework. The first input, the next process, the next output. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
That was presentation by Hasra. Thank you. The next speaker is Rabia. Time is short. That was presentation by Hasra. Thank you. The next speaker is Rabia. Time is short.
Okay, thank you so much for moderator, and thank you for audience to coming here. My name is Rabia, and the title is The Use of Taking Games to Improve Students' Speaking Skill for 11th grade at Senior High School number 6, Luo. And as we know that language is used a communication tool, speaking ability, or communicating with others, taking and People secondly know how to express thought, opinions, feelings, and ideas through language. And this is my proposal. I have a problem in my research, and this is on the background of the research above. First, the students cannot speak well using English because of lack of interaction and motivations to learn. In English well because they lack vocabulary, lack of motivations. According to Romy Satria Wono, 2017, games are structured or semi-structured activities that are usually aimed at experiment and can sometimes be used as educational facilities. And I give solutions for students to use games, capstaging, because I think this is games can to improve speaking skill for students. And I think enough. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
That was presentation by Rabia. Thank you. And the last speaker is Putri Ananda. Time is show.
Thank you for moderator and thank you for audience for coming. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, the title is the use of snake diagram to analyze basic tenses at the 8th grade of SMP Negeri 5 Palopo.
this was presentation by Putri Ananda. Thank you very much for our speaker presentation today. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, we come to the end part of the seminar, and I would like to say thank you. Thanks again to presentation today. Thank you. Thank you for attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this seminar proposal today. Thank you very much for your preparing yourself on our seminar today. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good afternoon. Afternoon. Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Mikawati. I will be serving as your moderator in our seminar. Okay, first of all, let's say thanks to Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has given us happiness and healthy. Secondly, salawat and salam always be given to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has given us the light from the darkness into the brightness. So, before we start the seminar today, I will introduce our presenter today. The first speaker is Nurliana. The second speaker is Irwan Ramli. The third speaker is Miryadil Jannah. The fourth speaker is Jubeda. The fifth speaker is Astuti M. Junedi. The sixth speaker is Putri Amelia. And the last speaker is Hasma. So, now I would like to invite Miss Nurliana to present her proposal. Time is yours. Teaching and the teaching technique for picture can be done with photo, and the technique the explanation can be practiced by explanation, synonym, and antonym. The procedure of learning my secret code media first the teacher forms student into several groups and name each group according to them they talk and then the teacher explain the purpose and the teacher share the media by secret card with each group and give instruction to each group to work together to find and improve vocabulary in English according to them law. After that, the teacher then discuss together the result of group work and the teacher then asks the group to find meaning in Indonesia from the English vocabulary by using the media by secret card. My secret card given to each group. I think enough. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, that is presentation from Miss Nurliana. Give applause for her. Okay. Okay, we move to the next speaker. Is Ilwan Romli. Time is yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
My name is Ilwan Ramli. Okay, today I've explanation my title is Improving Students' Vocabulary by Using Word Mapping Technique at Manpalopo. Okay, chapter 1 is there are four parts. The first is background. Okay, what is background is vocabulary is very important to be learned by the students because they construct or organize their ideas in the sentence process of some information from vocabulary mastery. And the second part is problem statement. What is the problem statement is does the use of word mapping technique to improve students' vocabulary and manpower. And the third part is objective of the research. What is the objective of the research? To find out the effective way to improve students' vocabulary by using word mapping technique and manpower. And the last part is significance of the research. The findings of the research will be expected to be useful and helpful information for the readers, teachers, and the students of manpower in improving the quality of teaching and learning of vocabulary. Okay. Some of the research is research focused on noun. Okay. Operational definition or mapping technique is a strategy to help students understand the meaning of word. Or mapping strategy is reference to by different terms such as semantic mapping, concept mapping, and word clusters and semantic feature analysis. Okay, chapter 2. Previous research finding. There are two researchers. The first is Putri Zingom Omara, 2010. The use of mapping to improve vocabulary mastery of the fourth grade students of SD Muhammadiyah Nijab 1, English Department, Faculty, Language and Art, Yogyakarta State University. This study is categorized into action research. The aim of this study was to show the process of improvements of students'
the research and the difference is the method because there are research use classroom action and use quasi experimental while this research use pre-experimental. Okay, definition of vocabulary. Okay, there are three definitions. The first is Virginia. Vocabulary is one of the most important elements in a language. Without it, no one can speak or understand the language. The second is William Marius. Vocabulary is defined as a list of words and often phrases usually arranged alphabetically and defines or translate elections or glossary. The last is Jack C. Richards and Willie Renandia. Vocabulary is a core component of language proficiency and provides much of the basis for how well when learners speak, listen, read, and write. Chapter 3. There are 6 points in Chapter 3. The first is research design, population ensemble, population and there are 5 parts in Chapter 3. The first is research design, population ensemble, instrument of research, procedures of collecting data, and technique of analyzing data. My research method is experimental. Thank you.
Okay, that is a presentation by Mr. Irwan Ramli. And now we move to the next speaker is Miriam Jannah. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
And good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
First of all, I would like to say thanks for the time that given to me to stand here in front of you all for presenting my proposal with title Enhancing Students' Vocabulary Mastery in Speaking Skill through Spinwell Media at Senior High School for Hulu. Okay, let's see the first slide. There is a background of the study. In background of study, the learning media was still limited to learning reference, books, and words. So that learning methods like this seems too boring. Moreover, when subjects are conducted during the day, students will automatically be more drowsy and focus on the material brought by the teacher. And part B, gamification of study. The student are lesson vocabulary. The English learning media is less interest in the process of learning English for students. The students are not enthusiastic about learning English, especially during the learning process in the afternoon. Part C, problem statement. How the students will be enthusiastic in following the learning process of English. How teachers will be more creative in presenting learning media to make students enjoy the class. Part B, problem formulation. Makes students easy to improve their vocabulary mastery by using the Spinwell media. And A, research benefit. Students will increase their vocabulary mastery through Spinwell media and in literature review, there is five parts. The first part, there is a review study. I use intermediate vocabulary with quite complicated questions compiled to previous study, which only focus on the basic vocabulary such as the animal. And part B, the nature of vocabulary. What vocabulary is? Vocabulary is one of the components of language proficiency and provides much of the basis for how well to speak. And see, media. Learning media is a tool in the learning process both inside and outside the classroom. And the conceptual framework. The researcher conducts research at Blue High School for Globalism on vocabulary, especially using media symbols. The first teacher explains how to use symbols and every them to students. Then students play this media. And A, hypothesis. The hypothesis in this first action research is the symbol media can improve students' vocabulary mastery and be able to attract student interest in learning English. And move to the third slide. Research methodology. In research methodology, there is four research design. The first, there is planning, then action, after acting, then observing, then after that there are reflecting. Then we move to the next slide. In this slide, there are research methodology. In this research methodology, field of the setting and the subject of study. The first place of the study. The place of the study is in senior high school for Blue. And then subject of the study. Student class 10 of senior high school for Blue. And time of research. Is about 2020 until 2021. And move to the next slide. This slide there are learn of research. The first, there is a flash of line of research. There is a plot of research and procedure of research. And in the next slide, there are data and search of data collection technique and data analysis. And I think that's all for me. And thank you for your attention.
Okay, that is presentation by Miss Iriana Chandra. Next, I would like to invite the next speaker. Please welcome Miss Jubeda. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Jubeda, and now I'm going to present my proposal. And the title of my proposal is The Use of Observe and Remember to Improve Vocabulary Students at the 10th grade of Vocational High School number 1 Palopo. And the next, in the chapter 1, when I was observing at the Vocational High School number 1 Palopo, I found several obstacles students in 10th grade office administration in learning English. Most of them were very lacking in mastering vocabulary when research interviewed one student, he said that when I studied English, I was not difficult to understand what the teacher gave me and speak using English because I was very lacking in vocabulary mastery. Sorry. From the problem I found, I would provide a solution on how to make the student vocabulary be improved through observing and remembering techniques using small objects that were easily identified. On the next problem statement, whether in using observing and remembering techniques can improve student vocabulary. And objective of the research. Yes, based on the problem statement above, objective research is knowing whether to use observing and remembering technique can improve student vocabulary. And the next, significance of the research. For English teacher, where the teacher can motivate student to learn vocabulary well, and the student, in order to improve their vocabulary well. And scope of the research. In order for research to be more focused and not deviate from the objective of the study, the research of the scope of the problem to be excited, the use of observing and remembering technique to improve student vocabulary, especially noun. And the next, the chapter 2. There are two research finding for the first, according to Gravura. Increasing student vocabulary mastery can be done by the teacher by using learning strategy, for example, by writing on back games. Write on back is a communication game. This communication game is a game that has the main group collaboration. This game is usually played by 5 to 6 players. And the second, according Keskin Kilik and Sunbul Exciting, the effect of mnemonic keyword on 6 years grade student. This study took place in Konya, Turkey, which showed the keyword mnemonic can be a tool to facilitate the learning process and make it easier to remember various information that is difficult to remember. And the next, okay, in the chapter 3, there are method and the sign of the research. For the method, this is study use experimental research method in one group. In this study, it was used to find out whether by using a strategy of observing and remembering in the English vocabulary, it could increase student vocabulary. And the design is in the design a pretest and process design and population. In the population and sample, population of this research is the student at the 10th grade of Vocational High School number 1 Colombo. The number of population are 120 students, and the sample of this study is class 10 office administration, 2 students consisting of 30 students, and sample are taken using a per-voice sampling technique where research focus into one class to make it easier to carry out care and also control student. And the next, instrument of the research. The instrument of this research is a test. This type of test is a vocabulary test where the test consists of a pre-test and post-test. When the final exam is applied to find out student vocabulary mastery after making a strategy of to observe and remember and noun vocabulary in English. And the next, pre-test and that data collection procedure. The procedure for collecting data is pre-test and treatment post-test. In the pre-test, before giving some information and explanation about the strategy of observing and remembering English vocabulary, the research will provide a pre-test for students to find out how far the student vocabulary mastery. And the treatment, there are 3 treatments. The next, post-test. In the post-test, the research will do the same activities as in pre-test. The research will raise the student vocabulary mastery one by one. And the next technique of data analysis. Scoring the student correct answer of pre-test and post-test by using the following formula. Okay, I think enough for today. Thank you very much for attention and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
We move to the next speaker. The next speaker is Putri Amelia. Time is yours.
Oke, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thank you to moderator to giving time for me to present about my proposal. Today, I would like to. Okay, we move to the next speaker. The next speaker is Putri Amelia. Time is yours. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good afternoon, guys. Okay. Thank you for the moderator to give me time to present my proposal. And today, my title of my proposal is about increasing student vocabulary mastery through counseling strategy in the first grade at Senior High School number 4 Luwuk. Okay? In my proposal, I have 3 content to explain to you. Okay, the first content is chapter 1 about introduction, and the next is chapter 2 about review of related literature, and the last is chapter 3 about method of the research. Okay, we move to the next slide. Okay, the next slide is about introduction. In chapter 1 is about background. Okay, in my observation, I have many problems. I found many problems, and the first problem is about students do not understand what a vocabulary is, and the second, students don't know the vocabulary distribution well, and the third, student speaking skills are lacking due to to lack of vocabulary, and the fourth, less teaching media. The fifth is learning methods are also lacking, and the last is as well as ineffective learning strategies. Okay, in here I give some product to move for improve the student vocabulary mastery. And the vocabulary mastery, I give a product that is counseling strategy. Okay, the next is identification of problem. There are 6 identification of problem. The first is students do not understand what a vocabulary is. The second, students do not the vocabulary distribution well. The third, student speaking skills are lacking due to lack of vocabulary. And the fourth, less teaching media. 5, learning methods are also lacking. And the last, as well as ineffective learning strategies. And the next is problem statement. Problem statement is how to improve student mastery of vocabulary using counseling strategy in the first at senior high school number 4 Luwu. The next is research objective. In research objective, to find out how to improve the mastery of student vocabulary using counseling strategies in the first grade at senior high school number 4 Luwu. Next, objective of the research is teacher, student, and researcher. And by discipline, this research refers to counseling strategy under the discipline of linguistics. By content, this research will be used to find out how to improve student vocabulary mastery by using counseling strategy at the 10th grade student of senior high school number 4 Luwu. Okay, we move to the next chapter in chapter 2. Review of related literature. The first is previous study. There are 2 previous studies in my proposal. The first is from Nur Tida, and the title is The Use of Spelling Bee Game to Improve Student Vocabulary Mastery of 8th grade at Senior High School number 5 Palopo. And the next is Nuraila Amalia, Improving Student Vocabulary Mastery Use Vocabulary Self-Collection Strategy. Next, relevant research results. Definition of vocabulary. There are two. The first from Barnhart and the next from Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary. Next, frame of mind. Mastery of vocabulary is done by teaching lecture, dictation, question and answer, and mastery strategy individually or in groups. The next, teaching vocabulary. Commonly, there are several techniques concerning the teaching vocabulary. Next, counseling strategy. There are definition and procedure. Action hypothesis. Hypothesis based on the problem formulation can be taken that the implementation of the counseling strategy, learning strategy, with the step the teacher gives the task. And we move to chapter 3, research method. There are place and time of research. Place of research, the research is conducted at Senior High School number 4 Luwu, which is located at Street Education number 24 Padang Sapa, Pondrang Sub District, Luwu District, South Sulawesi. Time of research, the study is conducted in the second semester for 12 meetings, namely on July 2019 in the 2019 academic year. Okay, next research subject, form of research. And the last is data collection technique and data analysis technique. I think enough for my presentation. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, that is a presentation by Miss Putri Amelia. Okay, we move to the last speaker. The last speaker is Hasma. Time is yours.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you very much for the time. I will present my proposal. My proposal is increasing of vocabulary student mastery by using a clock media at senior high school number 4 Luwuk. Okay. There are chapter 1. Introduction. Background. Background is vocabulary is a set of words that are owned by someone or other entity. And then problem statement. The problem statement point. Yet, one, there are still many students who do not understand the vocabulary, and two, the teacher does not include this as student at the time of learning. There are three, the lack of teacher using the media and so that student when asked about a student vocabulary are complete. Thus, for limited use of teacher media in learning, so students still lack mastery of vocabulary. And then the scope of the problem. There are problems for point. One, lack of media is used by teacher teaching, and two, basic of student, and three, lack of student to study, and then the lack of the purpose of media in vocabulary. And okay. The formulation of the problems, and the research of purpose. There are 4 points. One, growing in the extent of vocabulary, and two, problem do a student getting listening vocabulary, and three, research can find out whether students are difficult to learn vocabulary. And the last part, research can know about student problem. Benefits of research. 2 point. One, to teacher and to student. And then chapter 2. Chapter 2, review of related literature. There are 4 points. One is review study, and then theoretical review, and then the concept of what o'clock, and conceptual framework. Conceptual framework is conceptual framework
For example, itu media, jumping media, o'clock, and vocabulary for student. Okay, chapter 3, research method. The research method is for 5.1 method and the sign of research. Okay, 1, and then population and sample. Population itu population student and sample 35 student. And then 3 instrument of the research. Instrument of the research. First, procedure of collecting data. And then the last point, technique of analysis data. Okay, maybe this proposal, material proposal. Thank you very much for the time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
What is
Okay, that is the presentation by Hasma, the last speaker today. Okay, and now we move to the question and answer session. For those students who want to ask, please raise your hand and don't forget to mention your name. Okay, the first, the black page. Okay, my question from Mirya Dirjana. Why you think that the spin really media can enhance student vocabulary mastery? Thank you very much. Okay, the question from Hasma to Mirya Dirjana. Why you think that the spin wealth media can enhance students' vocabulary mastery? Okay, please answer the question from Hasma.
Okay. Okay, thanks for the nice question from Hasma. Okay, the question is the reason why I think the spin-off media can improve students' vocabulary at senior high school. Number 4, right? Okay. So this media is made as attractive as possible with color and selection of words that they easily understand. Each of the students has the opportunity to play this media. So indirectly, they have to be active learning activities in class and until the time they are getting bored with learning. In playing school, they can compete with time, reflect, and quit. They have to be serious in their team. This spin wells is a raw media or learning tool with parts that resemble pizza, pies with different color placement in each pies, and there is an arrow that becomes a reverse or pointer where the wheel rotation will stop, and it will be command that will play by the student. This is media is expected to be able to arouse students' enthusiasm in learning English, especially vocabulary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you from Mirya Dirjana. Okay, we move to the next question. Raise your hand and then forget to mention your name.
Okay. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thanks for the time. Let me introduce myself. My name is Jubeda. And now I will give question for Irwan Ramli. My question is, what the technique is important to teach for students? Thank you.
Okay, question from Jubeda to Irwan. What the technique is important to teach for students? Okay, please answer the question from Jubeda.
Okay, thank you so much. It's the nice question to me. Okay, what the technique is important to teach for students? Okay, I believe that this technique is very important because the technique is easy to teach for students, and the technique is very Okay, it's the next question to me. Okay, my answer is yes. This technique is very important to students because the technique is easy and the technique is the technique is very easy and very comfortable. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, finally we come to the end of part of this seminar. I would like to say